Building a family can be a complicated, messy, lonely, and sometimes heartbreaking process. But you don't have to navigate this challenging journey alone.
Welcome to the All Paths podcast, where we support and celebrate all of the different ways there are to try to grow your family. We are your hosts, Kate and Emily from the nonprofit organization All Paths Family Building. And today we're talking with Annie and Jean about their family's journey and their work in this space. Annie and Jean, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're excited too. So before we get into your own family building journey in more detail, we'd love for you to just briefly introduce yourselves for our listeners.
Sure. So we're Jean and Annie. We're married. We live down in the Philadelphia area. We are both pharmacists. We actually both worked for a prominent health system in Philadelphia for an extended period of time. And then I actually still work there, and Annie has moved on to a different job. We have two children, ages 6 and 4, just had a birthday last week. And we're just excited to talk to you guys.
We also actually, funnily, went to the same pharmacy school, but didn't know each other.
Oh,
He was a year above me.
Cool.
Yeah, we found that out after we started talking. I was like, hold on. How did we never run into each other?
So how did you meet then?
Oh, so his best girlfriend and my best guy friend ended up working at Rite Aid together, got engaged, and then we started doing a lot of social events together, became friendly. And who could say no to the spice?
So can you tell us a bit about your journey to starting a family? Like, where did it all begin?
I think, traditionally we met, we decided to get married, typical next steps. We actually wanted a couple of years to ourselves first, just to experience being married. And when we decided to start a family, I don't think we understood how long it was going to take. You know, you have it in your head, I'm going to get married, we're going to have a baby, it's going to happen. And after a couple months of unsuccessful attempts, we realized we probably should consult the specialists. And that's where our IVF journey began. We both went to get tested. They went through the normal process and diagnosed us with idiopathic infertility, which is a fancy term for we don't know why you can't get pregnant, which almost I feel like it's more frustrating because there are no answers.
Oh, yep, 100%.
Yeah. So because we were idiopathic and nothing was anatomically wrong, they suggested IUIs, which is in uterine insemination, where they essentially take the sperm and insert it into the woman. Kind of makes you feel like a cow at some point. But we went through about 9 rounds of IUI before we just accepted that we have to proceed with IVF.
Yeah, the IUIs didn't work, and I think with IUIs too, they're also very time consuming. So it's they're faster than IVF in terms of how long it takes. But when you do that number of them, I mean that's 9 IUIs end up being over a year for us, like overall for time. In addition to trying like naturally for a year as well. So we were like 2 years in, and then kind of just starting our IVF portion of the journey. And so yeah, we went to the fertility clinic. We got trained on the medications. We thought the educational version was shortened a little bit for us because we were pharmacists. We actually asked them if did you give us like a shortened version? Because they knew us as we worked for the health system that we were going to for the fertility treatment. And they were like, no, this is the training, we give everybody. And we said, okay, we're like, we can do this. Like we're licensed to inject. I've given thousands of vaccinations. And so, we felt, pretty confident. We took the meds back. And then Annie really initially tried to do the medications herself.
Oh, Emily, Kate, I was confident. I've administered so many injections. I'm like, I know what we're doing. Jean has dispensed all these medications. We know the side effects. We know how to mix them. We're good. So the first shot, I mix it. I'm like, this is great. And then as soon as I hit my belly, I just kind of stared at the needle, like just looking at it, like expecting it to go in by itself. I'm like, okay, no, you actually have to poke yourself. So somewhere there was a mental block that said, just don't do it. Don't poke yourself. So I stood there. And as soon as I tried to go, into my belly, my body physically recoiled, like it was running away from the needle.
Why are you doing this? I don't want that.
Exactly. So, I mean, there was an absolute mental block. So Gene ended up providing all the injections for me. And the couple of times that I had to do it by myself because he wasn't around, it took me 20 minutes to hype myself up. I had music playing. I iced myself. I was like, you can do it. It's just a tiny needle. You can do it. I would finally do it. I'm like, that wasn't so bad. The next time, same exact process. Like I didn't learn from before that, it just takes a simple stick. So I think you get in your head a little bit during that process.
Oh, 100%. The very first time I like lined it up. So my husband is scared of needles. He was not going to be anywhere near any of this. I didn't want him anywhere near this because then I'd have to deal with not only doing the injections, but him like passed out on the floor. So I lined everything up and I had him like, he was holding one hand and then like outside the bathroom so he couldn't see. And I closed my eyes. I was like, okay, we're going to do this. Because much of it is mental. Yeah.
Yes.
The expectation of it was the worst part for me. It was like, 100%. Just like, I'm going to do this. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like the clinics are so used to it and they're so ingrained in the whole process. They forget that the normal population probably has never been exposed to needles other than like a vaccine, like a flu shot. Mm-hmm. So to be able to expect the patients to handle and manipulate all these needles in conjunction with mixing the medication is a little unrealistic, with the videos, and they're doing their best. It's just a little harder to have that expectation on everyone.
Mm-hmm. And even if you guys felt this way and you're professionals, then other people with no medical background are feeling all those things times 10 probably. So how did IVF go for you guys?
Yeah, so Annie got a mild form of OHSS, which is like ovarian hyperstimulation, which wasn't great. Yeah. But she did the retrieval. We got a good number of eggs that were retrieved. Ultimately, we had enough to do like multiple transfers, which was great. And not everyone is that lucky. And so, we did the first transfer and we got pregnant, which we felt like, oh, this is like great. It's like going so smooth. And then it ultimately didn't turn out very well. We had a miscarriage on that one, which wasn't great. And that we found out, several weeks later. So, for weeks, you think everything's going great. So that was a little bit of a hit, I think. And it kind of brought you back to reality. Like, oh no, you're not where you think where you are.
Still getting chills, like thinking about it.
I know.
But yeah, the second transfer didn't take, which was also a disappointment. And I think at that point I was almost ready to give up. And I know people did it so many years before giving up. I just felt like mentally, G and I had a very open discussion about it too. And we're like, we got married because we enjoy each other's company. A family would be great, but is this something we're willing to go through for 5 years, 10 years? When is the stopping point for us? Mm-hmm. So at the third transfer, we kind of talked to our doctors and she was like, why are you hesitant? I told them that the injection was such a burden on me that I was getting more stressed than I feel like I should put myself through. So because anatomically there was nothing wrong with me, she suggested a natural cycle, which we didn't really know was an option initially, which is where they actually remove all the injections and follow your natural ovulation cycle and implant based on lab work. I opted for that just as a last Hail Mary. We ended up doing that, and I felt the stress was very little because we weren't adhering to an injection schedule every day. And that transfer actually ended up in our pregnancy with our first. So I think stress has a huge part in the success of IVF.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And like you said, even though I think sometimes people minimize the impact of like IUIs, but as you said, doing 9 of them. And I know for me, when we did multiple IUIs, we also paused between. So it felt like that took forever. So it's like cumulatively, you still have been through a lot. So, I mean, for us at All Paths, we always believe that like, obviously your journey is your journey, and what felt like it had been a long time already is what it felt to you, and that was real and it's true, and that's the important thing. But we're so glad, obviously, that then you were successful on that third natural cycle, and then you mentioned that you have two children, so you eventually tried again to further grow your family.
Yes. Our second was a happy accident.
Oh, great.
I think
we were actually going to call the fertility clinic. We got to, go back. We're going to pull out another embryo, try to do some transfers and get back on the meds that were needed, or do a natural cycle, but whatever we were going to do. And then it happened naturally with the second one, which was very interesting, which I think in some cases, when you do fertility, it kind of almost kickstarts your body a little bit. And we have seen some cases where you do fertility first time around, and then the second time around, things naturally happen, which is,
the timing was just unreal.
Amazing.
We had just called them that week, and I wanted to schedule a follow-up to come in because obviously we had our first, she was healthy, and we were dreaming about a second child and a sibling for her. And it worked out, which we felt very fortunate for.
That's great. Well, that's wonderful. So while you were struggling to conceive, what would you say were the most challenging parts of the experience for you? You mentioned some of the anxiety around the medications themselves. What would you say were kind of the other most challenging aspects?
I feel like the wait. There's so much heaviness on waiting for your labs, for the results, for the correct time to get a transfer. And obviously my partner and Gene, he was there to relieve the physical burden of the injection. So I could focus on getting a good mental state for everything else. But the waiting, the discussions around it, I feel like everyone has some opinions, but I feel like the people that nurtured me the most were the ones who just forced me to get out of the house and go for a cup of coffee, go for lunch, and didn't really push for it until I voiced my feelings about it.
I think anyone who's been through a challenging journey knows that it impacts all parts of your life, not just kind of your future family and your current health, but it affects your relationships with each other, if you have a partner, with friends, with extended family. So you said that some people, the most supportive folks were the ones who kind of made you kind of step outside of the bubble of infertility for a little while.
Yeah, you just feel so alone. I think everyone feels like it's so taboo to talk about it. But when you do open up and talk about it, it's so common. You realize how many more people have actually experienced it, and that it should be talked about, because you shouldn't struggle through this alone. It's like building a family or having a family. They always say it takes a village to raise a family. I feel like it takes a village to create one too. You need a great support system.
So, Jean, were there any particular people or communities or resources, tools? Was there anything that was particularly helpful for you during this time?
Yeah, so I mean, we were our fertility clinic was great. I have to say, like our nurse, we were able to talk with her. The communication there was excellent, and it was our first time going through IVF. So I had been dispensing the medications from the pharmacy where I worked at for years, but I honestly really didn't understand what people went through. Like I would give them the medications, but I really didn't understand what they went through until we did it. And I was like, wow, this is a lot. And our clinic was fantastic, and they had a lot of really good resources for us. And I think we really stuck together. We really pulled together. I could see how the stress of the process could really divide people, or really cause you to people fight, and there's timings that people get upset. But I think we really came together, and we really worked together to make this happen. So it was something we both really, really wanted. So it was quite a journey.
You've talked about how you're both pharmacists, and was it helpful that you already knew everyone? Kind of, you worked in the same system as your clinic, or was it weird? Would you have rather have had like a layer of anonymity coming in?
Oh, that's a good
That is
question.
a good question. Yeah. I didn't even think about it at the time.
You know what? Now that Emily brought it up, because the clinic was so close to our work and I had to run and get labs, I would actually avoid the clear path in case I ran into my coworkers. So, but I think we were far removed enough from the IVF clinic itself that it didn't make it weird. And eventually I was more open about it with my coworkers because I had to step out of work, where they would cover for me. I think I was just fearful that people wouldn't be as supportive at work because it was taking time away from work. But, once I explained the situation, everybody was a little bit more supportive.
It was probably nice that it was conveniently located because you do have to go there.
So true.
Yeah, I actually don't know how people, if you have to go extended periods or extended distances. I know in Boston, a lot of our patients actually, travel into like the center city area of Boston or downtown area in order to get like your labs and do things. And sometimes that could be like an hour trip for some people. And sometimes you have to go every 2 days, every 3 days. So it can be a lot. Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. From experience, I can say it was very stressful to do that. And it was, it added stress that, obviously we're always looking for ways to reduce the stress during this experience. So can you explain a little bit more about how your personal journey to grow a family impacted your professional journey and how fertility home care came to be?
Yeah. I think I referred to it as our third baby, but really it was our second baby, because after we had our daughter Mar, we were reminiscing about our journey with IVF and how difficult it was and what we would have changed about it. And I think we just realized there was a huge gap in the medication and administration education part of it. So Jean reached out to the clinic and said, hey, we would love to make this easier for people going through this, because if you have anyone struggling that needs extra support, and if you're not able to do it, have them reach out to us. We would love to walk them through it, especially since we've already gone through IVF and we're pharmacists. We just love to add that layer of support for them. So this is where Gene started riding his bike around the city, providing some injection training.
The clinic
so cool.
The clinic connected us a few people, and then it kind of grew like word of mouth. We lived in South Philadelphia at the time. It's a very residential area, and so it's very easy to get around on bicycle. So, I just get connected with people. I gave the clinic my cell phone number, and they just gave it out to patients that they really felt, I think, needed the extra help or really could not do the injections themselves. So I went, I would ride over. We had, a newborn at home. And so I was riding around, and then, it kind of grew a little bit. Initially, I was just doing trainings. I was just teaching either the woman if she was freezing or going through it herself, or if she had a partner, I was training both of them on like how to prepare the medications, how to hold a syringe, how to hold the vials correctly, how to basically prepare everything correctly, how to administer it correctly, ways to decrease like pain, things that I think are fairly natural or normal for medical professionals. But when you get to patients going through this for the first time, this is like all new to them. So it was extremely helpful. People, I got really, really good feedback from the couple of people I was assisting, and then they were telling friends and family members. So I think at one point I was riding around like almost every night. I was going out on my bike, and it was just, it became
not sustainable with a newborn at home.
I wouldn't say my wife was annoyed. I would say she was frustrated with me being gone all night, because we were still working all day. So at night it was just taking care of the child. So it became a little much. So we knew that it was going to become like a kind of a concierge service. So we wanted to offer it up to like more people. And so we went and reached out to like several nurses that we knew that lived in the Philadelphia area. They were happy to help. And then we kind of started this little venture where we were.
It's also nice that they're close friends with us, so we kind of strong-armed them.
They were voluntold to participate.
Exactly. That's good. I like that.
So that it became G. I did a couple of injections too, and it just really enlightens you on how difficult it is for a layperson. I think one of my injection training, I was like, so you wipe the vial with alcohol. She just burst into tears. She's like, how would I know that? How would I know that I was supposed to clean this vial? And it's crazy. They're like, you watch these YouTube videos, you give me a bag of meds, and then either I or my husband are supposed to do this every day. So
precisely on time.
Right. And there's so much pressure around it. Like you think like, okay, if I mess this up, like that's it. I screwed up this whole cycle.
Right.
especially with the triggers.
And we dispense the medication. So the medications are extremely expensive. So some of these people, it's not covered by a lot of insurance plans. People are paying extensive amount of money for these medications. So if you mix one thing incorrectly, you give it incorrectly. It's not just like an emotional burden; it's a financial burden.
Yeah.
I think having a professional there walk them through it, it made all the difference in these people's lives, 100%. And we started in the Philadelphia area, and we worked out just really with that one clinic, and then we expanded to RMA, Shady Grove, all the clinics in the area. There wasn't no service at the time like our service, the clinics were happy to take us because it was just an extra resource that they could offer their patients that they didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I know I got so excited when I heard about you guys, because this is a question we get at All Paths is, who can help us with this? And for a long time, I felt like I didn't know anywhere to refer them to. Like some people would, again, anecdotally tell you that like individual VNAs, like in Massachusetts, would do it. But then we were so happy to hear about your organization. And, I always say to people, I don't ever want to have infertility and loss in common with people, but when we do, you definitely feel a bond. And for you guys to have this personal journey and then have it turn into this professional calling as well, I think is really special. So I think it's a really great resource that exists. And you must have some pretty rewarding stories of happy customers, hopefully. And so any particular ones stand out to you that you want to share?
I just think it's so sweet that most of them come away from this feeling that we've been such a tremendous part of their journey. They still keep in touch with us. There are a lot of ups and downs throughout the day. Like I'm there for people's losses. They're doing progesterone and oil for 12 weeks. All of a sudden, 6 weeks in, they tell me they need to cancel their appointments. Obviously, I know why. So I'm there for them. And then at the same moment, 15 minutes later, someone's texting me a picture of their newborn and saying, like, I couldn't have gotten here without you. We've made some great friends along the way, especially in Philly, because we were able to be there for them. When Jean and I were going out ourselves to talk to them, and it just wasn't us being there to help with the injections. We were there for the emotional support. We talked about our journey, what their hopes are. And not everyone's journey is going to end up the same way, but at least you're not alone. So I just love that people feel that extra support that we're really trying to give them.
And then, to answer your question too, I think one person does come to mind, particularly to me, she was someone who wanted to do fertility for years, was so terrified of needles, I'm talking about, and she just could not do it. And so she never went through IVF because she knew she would never be able to administer the medication.
She asked her clinic.
And she has the clinic. There was no resource like this. So, for 5 years, she just did not do it. And then she went back to the clinic and then asked them, and the clinic said, we have a service now that does this. And then she went through IVF. She basically would not have done it if we didn't exist. So that was very rewarding to us, because I felt like that particular patient, would not have gone through it at all if we were not there. So
I think we felt the same way the clinic did. 99% of the patients can do this or will do this because it's their only way to start a family. We never thought there would be people out there that refused to do this because they didn't have this type of support. So for her to tell us that was eye-opening, that we needed to expand this and needed to make people aware that something like this exists for them.
That's really wonderful. So it sounds like geographically you've gone beyond being able to bike around. Where do you provide support for folks now?
Which is a shame. That was our way of exercising.
I was in the best shape of my life. You were really
checking a lot of boxes there.
I can imagine.
Off to the gym you go.
Yeah, so we have expanded services around the U.S. We are nationwide. We service over 30 cities across the country. But honestly, we would take any patient anywhere that reaches out to us. We'll do anything we can to help them. We do have virtual support as well. So anybody that needs assistance, we help. And, we have over 1,000 nurses nationwide right now. on staff, and it's expanding every day. The nurses love this type of work. It's very rewarding for them. They get to work locally near their home as well. So it's very nice. It works out for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like it's a win-win. The nurses tell us how gratifying this is to be able to put their skill to use to help these women build their families. And then they get very connected. So while I do miss being able to be there for the patient personally, I am so thrilled that our nurses, literal angels on earth, can be there for these women.
That's great. So can you share with our listeners how people can get in touch with you if they're interested in learning more? And just side note, we're very grateful you're professional members of All Paths Family Building. So I know you're in our directory, but if people want to contact you directly, how are the best ways for them to do that?
Yeah, so our website is it was really the best way to contact us. We have a contact form on our website. If you submit that, we will get back to you. It's fertilityhc.com, right? Fertility Home Care. So and we're very like boutique personalized service. I mean, if you submit that form, you get me or Annie, right? If you email us, you get Annie or I.
It's very
right?
hard for me to give control up. I have such a personal
piece. That's okay.
Like we don't have a call center. Like
Yeah.
it's like this woman does almost everything. It's amazing, really. It's amazing.
Well,
That's
wonderful.
great.
And we'll definitely put that link in the show notes as well.
And then we do events and conferences like all over the country as well. We'll actually be up in Boston in November for the Women's Health Innovation Summit that they have up there.
Really good.
Which is really good. Yeah, we're excited this year. We didn't get to go last year. We were traveling for actually a different event, but this year we're really excited to go.
I think last year we really started branching out and trying to connect with clinics. I feel like it grew exponentially through word of mouth, but people were still saying, I wish I knew about you sooner.
I know.
Like they didn't really find out about us until halfway through, or they messed up their trigger. So I feel like if there's more awareness within the clinics, patients will have the resource before they really struggle and need it in a dire situation.
Yeah. When we hear that about All Paths too. They find out like about our support groups or other things afterwards. And it just breaks my heart because you can tell they would have benefited from it. And it's like, you just want to go back in time and find them before it's too late. So we hear you on that. That's probably my single worst thing that I hear in this job. I'm always like, I'm sorry. So I hear you.
So we like to ask all of our guests the same two questions to wrap up. And I'll let you know what both of them are, and it's up to you what order you answer them in. But the first question is, what's one thing that you would say to someone who is just starting out on this process, just starting to grow their family? And then the flip side of that is, what's one thing that you wish people would stop saying when someone tells them that they are struggling to build a family?
I think I'll take the first question, and you can take the second one. I think she will want to speak on that. But I'd say, as far as telling someone that's going through it, take it one day at a time. The process is usually longer than you think it is. So take it one day at a time. Trust your partner, right? You're in it together. There's going to be some tough times. There's going to be some good times. But you lean on each other to get through those times. I think it's helpful. And just, getting through like the small victories too. I think if you like mix a medication and administer correctly, like, take some joy in that, take some pride in that, right? Even if it's not every single night, because the small victories don't always come around that often. So enjoy it, and really just trust each other.
Yeah, just be prepared to have those uncomfortable conversations and trust your partner that there's no judgment. The support is there. You just have to be there for each other.
I love that. So the flip side is, what is one thing that you wish people would never say to someone who's struggling to build their family? So we know there are many comments that get said, whether they're well-intentioned or not, they're go on this list.
I think this is probably a popular answer you guys get, but you get married, you go to a family party, and the first question they ask is, so when are you having kids? It's such an antiquated conversation starter because you don't know what someone's going through. But then once you do find out and they are struggling to build a family, I think The one piece of advice that I wish people would stop saying was everything happens for a reason. It caused personally me to spiral down, like, why me? And there's no good answer to that question. Like, well, what is the reason? I think that just causes more self-doubt, isolation, a little bit of a depressive state. So on the flip side, if you do want to help someone, I think reverting back to what I said before, just be there for them. Have them join you in an activity, go for walks, go for a coffee date or a lunch date, talk about anything but what's going on in their mind if they're not ready. However, if they are, that's your chance to powwow. I've had friends that I just released on and vented on, and they were just there to give me a hug. They were just there to say, I'm sorry. Sometimes there is no answer. So just being there, hugs, I'm sorry you're going through this, was the best way for me to mentally reset myself.
I love that.
It was a lot more tame than I thought I would be, because there were a lot of questions that I used to go, please don't say that to someone.
Yeah, I think Annie answered that very well.
We've had threats of violence in other episodes, which is we've supported them. We're like, we don't support actual violence, but threats of violence are understandable.
It's just how are you feeling? Wow.
Do you really want to know, or is that just like a polite question?
Right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't.
You got to be prepared for the answer.
True answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Annie and Jean. This was really lovely talking with you and getting to hear not only about your own beautiful family, but about the support that you're now bringing to families all over the place through fertility home care. So again, if anybody's listening and wants to get in touch, contact info is going to be in the show notes. But thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. I don't think we realized the impact we had until we verbally expressed it to others. Like, we knew what we were doing. We just didn't know the impact it has had.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time to talk about our services and everything with you guys. It's been great.
We hope you'll join us next time for more family building stories and resources. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts to make sure you never miss an episode. And follow us on social media at allpathsfb, or visit our website, allpathsfb.org, for more information about our work. All Paths Family Building is so grateful to the members of our circle of support who are vital to our ability to provide emotional support, education, and advocacy that is available to anyone who needs it. Today, we want to give a special shout out to our gold sponsor, Mass General Brigham. Thank you for joining us for this episode. Please help spread the word so that anyone who is struggling to grow their family can join the conversation. It's an honor to walk with you on your family building journey.